So I just want to just bring us now to the point where you're moving from Yeovilton and you're heading to the next place, because you don't stay at Yeovilton for your whole career, because you said that was for 6 years. So where do you go after Yeovilton? Where is the next location?
Well, 1982, obviously Falklands.
Falklands, yeah.
I didn't attend. I stayed at Yeovilton. The aircraft, the cabs that were there, had to be upgraded. So which is a small modification, so they could fire missiles.
Okay, for the Falklands.
For the Falklands.
Yeah.
Virtually every flight cab would be ready to go.
Okay.
It was the cabs that were back at the squadron that were being utilised to send away. So they are being prepped, little wiring modification to make them capable of firing Seaskew missiles, anti-ship missiles.
Cool, yeah.
So we're doing that. Somewhere in the midst of that, I come home on holiday. Strangely enough, I come home now, there was something happening in the future, which I kept asking. I remember asking many a time, well, all leave's cancelled and all this is cancelled, all training, this is cancelled. And I can't find anything in my crib note here, my documents, to say this is why and why I did. But I can't remember. So I'm get sent home on leave. So I'm in my local pub in Gullin, and there's people, all the locals coming up saying, oh, you're not doing the Falklands yet. And I wouldn't say anything. I thought, no, I'm not going there. As in talking about it.
Yeah.
I say I'm not going to discuss it. That's to become, what will be, will be. So I managed to deter anyone asking, when are you going, what are you doing, blah, blah, blah. And at the time, I didn't have a clue anyway. So I come back to Yeovil. I do more loading of aircraft onto the back of Hercules, Belfast, transport aircraft. There was a Belfast transport aircraft, big as they come, huge thing, sitting for days on end, being loaded up with various helicopters, parts, and all sorts to go to Ascension, meet a ship that was docking or being there, and then everything would be unloaded onto that ship.
Yeah.
It then shoots south.
Yeah, makes sense.
They pick up the gear. There's guys disappearing off the squadron, left, right, and centre, the various trades that they needed to make another small ship's light, or to make up the aircraft that were going down. They need a crew for it, right? They need the sub maintainers plus a driver, a pilot, and a map reader, an observer. They're allocated separately, but and the guys just told, go pack your gear, you're flying.
Yep.
They disappear. My bum starts to squeak a little bit.
You might be going.
Am I close to going? I've done a small ship's flight by then. I'm still a triple trader on the squadron. I could go virtually any time. I know most of the drills. Different ship, different things to allocate. So a different frigate to mine, original one. Yes, I have to learn where I eat, where I sleep, where I work. Normally where I work is quite easy enough. It's on the back end somewhere. I can easily find that.
Yeah.
Up to the upper deck, and then you walk down. Oh, there's the hangar. I found it. I know where I work now. So little layout differences, certain working differences. Obviously, the layout of the ship, what different ship it might be. A destroyer that has a different task, different armaments, etc.
Yeah.
So my bum is squeaking, but thankfully, the Falklands comes to an end. I have every respect for anyone that went south. I have heartfelt wishes to anyone that lost anyone down there. I did lose people that I knew, not 100% well, not buddies, drinking buddies, that sort of thing, but I knew their name when they appeared on the casualty list. I have uttermost respect for anyone that went south. As one petty officer said to another, the guy hadn't been like I hadn't. And he went up to the petty officer and says, what did you do down the Falklands? What was that like? And he says, I was too busy trying to get under the non-skid paint to bother. And that's the thin layer of paint on the flight deck. And he was trying to get underneath it. There's cannon, there's shells, there's umpteen ships in San Carlos, and they're all trying to fire, and there's light weapons, small arms, and your average sailor will pop off like that, no problem, but it's not always accurate, shall we say. So some of the stuff could be incoming from a neighbouring ship, you know, so you've got to be wary of what's going on. So whether that happened, I'm purely speculating, but, you know, there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
And all he said, I was trying to get under the non-skid paint. And I don't think, to his benefit, that he said how it affected him in any particular way.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't go up to anyone and say, if they volunteered, yeah, well, what was that like? What happened then? Oh, what did you do? Oh, it was funny, it was this, it was that. And, you know, you'd crack a joke about it, some of them. And you say, wow, goodness me. And I never went. But I wouldn't go up to someone I didn't know and say, what did you do in the Falklands? Because that's not my business. If they want to tell me, that's up to them. But I never went out because I never went. So I have no jurisdiction to say, well, this is what I did. Exactly. I was back at Yeovilton, 8,000 miles away. I was quite reserved. I'm out the way.
Yeah.
So
what, you know, you might be going, but then you're not. So what happens to you?
Towards the end of that year, the Osprey, as it was, RNAS Portland, had an empty hangar. The Wasp helicopter was being discontinued and retired from service, and it was reaching the end of its active life. So they says, we've got a big hangar, it's empty. And they moaned and they moaned and they moaned. And eventually, after the Falklands, towards the end of 82, they moved lock, stock and barrel. And even some flights that come off ships were just told, go straight to Portland and disembark there.
Okay.
So they're already there. Some of the flights that went and come back, they're already there. I do removals in the last few weeks of Yeovilton. So I'm encouraged to do summer retard, as in work during the summer holidays and have my holidays after. So the normal squadron, everyone disappears, and I'm led to believe it's a doddle. It's going to be a doddle. All you're going to do is put a few filing cabinets on a truck every day, and then you'll be done for the day. So it's relatively simple work. It's not strenuous. You put a few filing cabinets. There's no tail lift on a Bedford, so you're manhandling them.
Yeah.
They're empty. Cupboards, tall cupboards, you know, bits and pieces, desks. But, you know, you're not getting anything that we're leaving behind. We're taking it all. So there's bits and pieces to down. I do that for 2 weeks. I go home. I come back. And we come back to Yeovilton, and then they say, right, get in your car. I was driving then. Get in your car and head to Portland. So I follow another guy down the road. I says, you tell me you're going? He says, yeah. So down in my car, down to the Portland gate. We get to the gate and they say, what are you doing in working clothes? We've just left Yeovilton. Yeah, so what are you doing in working clothes? Well, yeah, we just got sent. We just got told to come down here. Yeovilton allowed you to go and drive in working clothes. Portland didn't.
Okay.
So that's as someone said to me, different ship, different cap tally, which is an annoying phrase, but different rules for different bases. So they're allowed off. You're not charged with anything being out of civvies, even if it's just a civvy jacket over your working shirt.
Yeah.
So you can't be identified. But you're travelling along a causeway from Weymouth to Portland. It's only going one place. The majority of the cars are only going one place. Dockyard or the air station.
Yeah.
Where are you going? Oh, you may be going up to Portland, but you're ending up in Married Quarter place, because I ended up there once I got married. But, you know, you're all going to visit the locals. But 90% of the traffic, day in, day out, going to and from, is service personnel or dockyard workers.
And like Yeovilton is inland and Portland's on the coast, isn't it? So, yeah. So you've now moved. You moved to Portland. What's it like working on the coast? Is it a nice feeling?
It's different. Weymouth's a nice place to be. It's a nice town. It's a seaside town. Yeah, you got the beach. I move into accommodation on Osprey, as it's called, HMS Osprey, which is the accommodation site. RNAS Portland is the airfield site.
Right.
And they're kind of separate and the dockyard is just tagged on in between, if you like. I'm in accommodation. I'm not too happy with who I'm living with. They're a bit pain in the backside. They think it's funny if they super glue your locker padlock, childish, but so they think all you do is go out to the car. I get a junior hacksaw. I hacksaw one off. I get another one out the cupboard, put the lock on, and they're sniggering in the background.
Yeah,
because that's what they've done. So I put in to go to digs in Weymouth.
Okay.
As an overspill to all the lack of accommodation on Osprey, they allow you to apply to go into what they call digs, as in accommodation, which is basically a bed and breakfast and an evening meal, and sandwiches if you're on a shift system starting at 12. You've got sandwiches for the evening. But I apply, and then the next thing you know, you've got your allocation. It's with Marjorie and Bob Forrest. He's an ex-footballer, and he's running what was formerly a B&B, but it's now naval accommodation. It's guaranteed money. He gets paid a bit of a backhander. Plus side, you pay the same food and accommodation as you do on camp, and you get your petrol home to duties paid by the Navy as well.
Fair enough.
So that's a win-win situation.
Yeah.
So I get my petrol money back, home to duties. I drive into work. I drive back at night time. The camp's nothing to do with me when I'm finished work. It's a bit of a squeeze to park my car outside the place because there's other guys' cars, but you get a place and it becomes virtually a protected zone. This is my space. What are you doing parked in there? Can you not move your car going into the accommodation? Whose car's that again? Well, it's Jed's up the stairs, right? Up the stairs. Jed, park your bloody car better, and then you can get your car in.
Yeah.
And then very, very conveniently down this lane, right opposite the entrance to the digs, there's a pub.
Fair enough.
It becomes my local.
Yeah.
Whilst I'm there. So, commuting to work. I mean, all the guys in the digs, there's half a dozen of us, something like that.
Yeah.
And we're all pretty, to me, there's bits of banter, backbiting, few arguments, but it's all, it's all pretty standard stuff. Blokes living together in a mess deck. It's going to happen. You're going to fall out with people, but we're all pretty amenable to everyone else.
Yeah.
So if somebody needs a lift, my car's off the road, can you give us a lift in when you're going in? Vice versa, if your car's off the road, it's MOTing, it's going to come back a shit heap. It's going to fail, which my car did. It was no Ford, so bodywork used to go on it, but that's a side issue, so catch a lift.
Fair enough.
Next time you're in, I'll do you one back next time your car's off the road.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You help each other out that way. Or if you spot someone at the bus stop outside the air station at the bottom of Portland Hill, you stop and you go into town. Aye, go on in.
Yeah.
Give them a lift in. You got the summertime nightlife. You got this. You got the beach in the summertime. There's all plenty of things to look at, and I used to take my boogie box at the time. My favourite was Michael Jackson and Thriller album. Put that, plenty of batteries, and lie on the beach and just sunbathe and chill. I wasn't one for going swimming all that much. I just up against the Esplanade wall, and I used to just chill there, get bronze, burnt, cinder, etc.
Yeah.
Got caught last week, so I'm a little bit red here and there.
So I guess living there is kind of like when you were living up in Scotland, living by the beach.
Pretty free and easy. I'm still commuting, but I'm not doing it train. I'm doing it by car, up and down the motorways. It's life's good.
Yeah.
Up to a point. There always will be what the fuck am I doing here moments, and you go, hang on a minute, is this what I do want to do? And then the feeling goes when you have another pint, and you think, because it's normally drink related.
Yeah.
You have a few beers, and somebody moans, and then you moan, and then so I'm getting out. That's it. I've had enough.
Getting out, yeah.
And then the next morning, what was I on about? And
Yeah.
you think better of it, and then you're back into work the next day, and it's all banter and it's all fun, and
That's
it's all great.
Yeah. So with your time at Portland, how long was that for in total? Do you remember?
Portland, I stay there until 1990.
To 1990. Okay. So was it 82? Did you say,
Yeah.
or was it 83 when you?
82.
82 when you got there. Okay. So you had 8 whole years there.
Yeah.
That's quite a long time. In that period, is it similar to Yeovilton, where you kind of that's your main base, and then you go off and do other bits and pieces?
Yeah.
So what's kind of like what's some standout moments from your time there?
Well, I suppose I keep renewing my triple trade, and then a load of documents come for me, and they say, go learn about the links. Here are your 2 weeks or whatever it was back at Daedalus.
Uh-huh.
And I thought, how long have I been on links? And they wanted me to go back, so I go to our senior chief.
Yeah.
And I say, oh no, we'll get them waived, Matt. We'll get them waived. Don't worry. So I have to redo firefighting, ships firefighting, aircraft firefighting, the little nitty-gritties of going back on board. And I end up back from what was the second form squadron 815, which is a front line squadron, back to 702, which is a training squadron, because they were expecting me to turn up. So
Okay.
I still have to go and work for them, basically doing the same job, but working on their aircraft rather than the other squadron's aircraft. They're not so easy to work for, squadron. They've got different people in charge. They have their own ways of doing things. It wasn't an enjoyable time. To say nitty-gritties. I've got a wife up in married quarters. I'm coming home and I'm trying not to share it, as in get at her and take it out on her. So you think, right, okay. Once I get off here, back on 815, I'm heading for another small ship's flight.
Oh, are you? Okay.
This is all what the training is for.
Okay.
So this becomes HMS Glasgow,
Okay.
a guided missile destroyer.
Bit bigger then.
Yeah, bit bigger. Rather than 4 Exocet on the front, as the Leander had, it has dual Sea Dart, taking out aircraft, anti-aircraft destroyer. So Falklands, the various ships that were Type 42s as it was, that were known as, so the Glasgow, the Cardiff, etc., they were all picketed. So they had the radar to look for incoming aircraft and a Sea Dart whoosh to get out.
Yeah.
Didn't always work, and then the second line, there is a secondary picket of ships, and then eventually they get to San Carlos and what they can hit, because they're slow moving, they're maybe more of a target, but yes, they did take out some picket ships. The Glasgow that I end up on, that gets bombed.
Okay.
And the bomb comes through one side and out the other.
With you on it?
No,
Oh.
this is 82. So
Oh, right. This is before you went on it.
this is
Right.
before I went on it.
Okay.
So it suffered bomb damage,
Yeah.
and various other ships suffered bomb damage with them not exploding.
Okay.
So it could have been a whole lot worse. And then the Argentines realise we're releasing them too low, too early.
Yeah.
Adjust it, bink, bang.
Yeah.
And a lot of people suffered from
So
that.
you yeah, go on.
So I joined the Glasgow flight. We're at Portland. I get to know the 8 guys again. We're overmanned just for a little while. They train me in the way they do things, and to get used to the ship and what the ship's like, and they tell you what the ship's like, and then you get on, and it's Oh my goodness me, where do I sleep? Where do we eat? Blah, blah, blah. So you learn all that again, and then somebody will say, right, Mac, down to stores. And you go, where's that? Where's that again? Go along past so-and-so, down the thing, and then you pass the naffy, and it's the next ladder down. All right. That means stairs, does it? Aye, yeah. So down you go, you find stores, and then you forget it as you come back out, you know.
Yeah.
I'll never go back there again, I don't have to remember that. And then the next thing you know, we told you last time, but you got to remind me, I'm sorry, I've forgotten. Because it's been so long, it's been 2 weeks, you know.
Yeah.
So it's to try and, I get to know the ship quite well. The previous flight, I'm forever looking for magazine keys and find the appropriate officer to get a key to a magazine so we can make up flares.
Okay.
That we're doing a flare drop that night. Or we're going, you always needed flares to throw off the end of the ship if there was a low visibility, as in fog. And we actually did that one time. So you get certain flares, a smoking flame float, pull a pin, sploosh. Out the back comes a red flare, light, and smoke. And you think, in fog, what are they looking for? They're looking for smoke in fog. What's all that about? So we had to do that for real because we had so much fog and the cab driver couldn't see the ship until the very last minute, until we appeared and he was virtually alongside. Oh, I can see you now. Land on, think, and you put out one at specific intervals. And we actually launched 4 because one of them didn't work. So I get a pull a pin, sploosh, bust suddenly. Somebody else goes, oh, give it time. Nah, throw another one in. So we eventually flew through the 4th one and it lands on. But a low visibility approach, they termed at various different times, but there's things that you can do. So that's potentially, you train for this. Sometimes you actually throw, even during the day, you do the drill and you throw a few flares off and they go, wisp. Oh, that was nice. Like that. Can I throw another one? No, we've thrown 3. Oh, bummer. So you go through the drills, how the ship works, what the ship's doing, and you follow that till it's due another maintenance period, say, or it's going to deploy, and you embark, and away you go.
Okay. So did you actually deploy with it at any point? You did.
Many a time. I mean, sometimes it's just a few days.
Okay.
Well, minimum, it would probably be about a week or so. It can be for a day or 2 just to meet the ship's requirements. It wants the aircraft on board.
Yeah.
It's maybe doing a local visit. Like you can go to Glasgow. You can go into Glasgow, up the Clyde. We went into Faz Lane for etc. And you're in a nuclear base and there's all these warnings reading everywhere. And I'm thinking, if the balloon goes up, I'm screwed because I don't know what I have to do, let alone, if something goes bang, you might as well just, sit down and take the consequences because you're not going to do anything. But you're on various pits around the country. The main one for the Glasgow was West Indies guard ship.
Okay.
And that's going around all the islands in the West Indies in a circle from, say, Key West, and just loop around all the islands all the way, and the ship goes into a maintenance period so you can have some holidays. So, and we embark. I joined the ship on my sister's wedding day, so I missed that. This is a Sunday. We sail on a Sunday. This is a Saturday. So I'm travelling up on the train. Occasionally we flew up on a shuttle, and that was great. Would you like a drink, sir? Yeah, I'll have a double Bacardi and Coke, thank you very much. And that's all included in the price because it was BA at the time. So, And bear in mind, you might have to work. So, I'm exaggerating slightly, but, I'll have a can of beer or whatever. If I can sneak, mostly on the way back down, I should say. If you're getting from Edinburgh back down to Portland, you go to London and then you train it from there. But going up, you're more reserved. Obviously, you might have to work, so you're not popping the beer and turning up drunk. So So we embark. I arrive on the Saturday. My sister's gone. I miss that. We sail the next day. The cab is already on board by the time I turn up in the dockyard. When the hell did that turn up? Oh, he turned up early, so I'm not late then. No. It's all right, Matt. You're fine. So we sail the next day, up round the top of Scotland, across the Atlantic. You meet up with various other working navies, Americans, for instance, other European nations, and you play silly buggers out in the Atlantic, 200 miles. So you do night exercises, and you have to find them, and they have to find you. And then with lighting, strangely, can make your ship look very cruise ship-like.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Specific lighting. So you put it up, and from a distance, that's a cruise ship over there. What is it? Is that who we think it is? And then they'll come a bit closer. And we did get found by an Italian ship's helicopter. We got found by them. And all you hear the noise, but it's pitch black. No, strangely, no moon. And all we had was the shape and the sound. And then outside there's a little silhouette of a Huey helicopter. And then they put a big landing light on, big bright light underneath. Big, that's us lit up, that's us dead. They fly away. Light goes out, and they disappear. So yeah, oh well. What's the cab going to do? Well, it can't land back on board because we're out of the game. Where's it going to go? Well, it'll find somewhere nice so they can get overnight, There's all sorts of scenarios you play out in your mind. And then eventually it comes back. Well, what did you get? Oh, yeah, well, we found one, we think, which is bad for them because they've got a radar. They've got a surf radar. But that tells its own story. So a little plink and then off again to see if there's anything out there. But if you illuminate them too long, they can illuminate you.
Yeah.
And then too long and you're out the game. So, you're playing silly buggers over across and then you island hop. And in the summertime, you're not liable to hurricanes. So it's island hop community projects. So you volunteer, get in a bus, they take you to a location, and next thing you know, you're painting somewhere. And I did that one day.
Yeah.
What do you do? I'm an electrician. All right, we've got too many of them. So can you use a paintbrush? I think so. Oh, I'll give you a tin of paint.
Yeah.
So away you go paint. Various other guys do various other jobs. Somebody does a bit of carpentry, bit of wood this, bit that. And then at the end of the day, back on board, that's you done. And it's taken as a duty. So you volunteer, you go. There's no excuses. So you can't get out of it. Can I change my mind? I did. The senior maintenance rating took exception because I hadn't told him. I just volunteered. I put my name down. And I didn't bother to tell him straight away. And he says, well, I've got so-and-so tomorrow. He says, you didn't tell me that. Right. Sorry. Apologise. He says, yeah. He says, fine. He says, I wish you told me. He says, but yeah, I can't stop you going. He says, but tell me next time. He says, you volunteer for anything. Yeah, okay, fair enough. I plead guilty. So I go and I paint for a little while. It gets you off the ship.
Yeah, something different.
You meet some of the locals. We met some American students doing similar projects during maybe their gap year or spring break. Most of them are going popping booze and seeing who they can see and seeing who they can be with and etc. But some of them come to do community projects in the various islands. So Belize, British Virgin Islands. We go to Venezuela. I can't remember where exactly. Trinidad and Tobago, Antigua and Barbuda, the Bahamas, Jamaica. It's
quite a lot. Bit of a cruise. The ship goes into refit or maintenance period to be exact, and everyone buggers off, bar a skeleton crew, buggers off on holiday. So I fly with 3 or 4 others in a taxi, and we fly, get to the nearest airport, zoom across to Orlando. Oh, really? Okay.
My wife is already on a Virgin Atlantic plane. No, British Airways out, Virgin Atlantic back. Something went wrong with the cab, so they had to change to a different flight. So she's already flown out from the UK with other wives, and it's all
Oh,
done
really?
through a MOD loan.
Okay.
And you can apply for it. And I say, how much you want? Well, 400 quid for whatever what it was for the accommodation plus the flight. That's fine. Sign here. We'll take that back at set rate every month until it's paid. Yeah, happy with that? Yeah. It's interest free.
Mm.
How the other half lives.
Yeah, right.
So the wife flies out for a week. I ignore her. I said to the other guys, look, you know, it's me and the missus. I'm going to say hi, but I'm not going to get involved in talk, and I'm going to steer the hell away from you. Don't take any offence. So there's other flight maintenance ratings at the same hotel. And I say, look, step back. You enjoy your time with your wife. I'm going to enjoy mine.
Yeah.
So we went around the various theme parks, day on the beach to relax, unwind. We both say cheery bye at the airport. I head back to Orlando. I head back to the ship in Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, or one of the ports on the Georgia coast, which I can't for the life remember accurately. It might be somewhere called Mobile, but I'm not 100% on it because it's kind of close.
Yeah, it's
Close-ish
irrelevant.
to Atlanta. It's in
Support.
Georgia, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
So I fly back, various other guys you meet from the flight, and they're on a large package to the various theme parks, and they were going to hire one of the big old motorhomes
Yeah, like an RV.
and RV out there. And that got kiboshed because A, it was expensive, and B, it was a load of blokes. And they
Yeah.
said, not going to happen to I think expense. It was cheaper. They thought, we'll get beer and we'll drive across America, we'll see across America, and there'll be plenty of beer involved. And there was loads of them out, the same mess that the senior rates were in. One of them was the chief of my supervisor, if you like, and he was one of them, plus the radio mechanic supervisor, again, my head radio mechanic to look supervisor. So they were together. They were very friendly, very pally, on the same flight for quite a number of years' time, and they got to know they were golfing pals and all the rest of it. So they were on the same with various other guys out the same mess, and they tried to get this RV, and they said, "No, it's too expensive." So they eventually flew, and then did a sort of motel somewhere.
So that's kind of like your R&R.
Yeah.
Whilst you're on a trip.
So you met various guys walking about with their wives. Some of them had flown. If you flew a girlfriend out, you're not entitled to the loan, the free loan. So by hook or by crook, they somehow got them out there. But I had this interest, 400 quid, I think it was, free loan. Paid it back, no problem. Didn't miss the money to any great extent. The wife went back. She got to the gate, and I said, flight's cancelled. So I ended up eventually later that time, getting on a British Virgin plane. They flew her back. Luggage is still doing the rounds. That turned up, whatever time later. I was unbeknown to this until she actually wrote, snail mail back to the ship and says, this is what happened to me when I left you. We just went through the gate and never got any further. So I went back on the plane, and we go to a small airfield. And there's little cab sitting away from the plane that we get on to get off. And we get off, and there's this little plane, and we're directed. You're going to so-and-so. Aye. That's you, okay. So there's a little, I think it was twin prop. Yeah, must be twin prop. Small plane, and there's about 7, 8 seats, maybe 10 at the most, and 2 pilots. And they're like that in front of you, You're looking on them. There's no door. It's just open. You can see all the instruments on the cockpit, and we take off. And all you can see out the window is a ruddy, great big thunderstorm. Humongous thing. It's lightning, and we're skirting it. Don't go anywhere near that, I'm saying. Don't go anywhere. Not verbally, but it's going through your mind. Stay away from that over there. Stay away from that over there. So eventually we land on safely. We re-embark. We get back to the ship. where did the cab go? I can't for the life of me remember. So we must have disembarked the cab off the ship because they can't be trusted. And then dockyard workers around it, you think, no, it's too much. So we must have disembarked somewhere, locked the aircraft, as in we keyed it, key lock, turn the key, lock all the aircraft tools in the back, hide the keys away in a safe, whatever, safe, secure place. All of us disappeared on holiday at the same time. So we must have re-embarked the cab at some stage, and then the ship says set sail, and continues going around all the islands, visiting as and when, what you had to do. You're exercising with the various navies, obviously the Yanks out there, Americans. They cross deck with us, so certain ship's company personnel come across to us. They love it because their ships are dry. Ours are not. So we've got beer on board. American ships don't. So they love it when they come to British ships. Oh, mess deck. Oh, yeah. Slurp another can. And you're allowed 3 cans per man per day.
Yeah.
But nobody strictly sticks to that.
Yeah.
I took the opinion, I was trying to buy a house, or thinking of buying what was ex-married quarter at the time. So I'm not drinking on board. I'm thinking it's an unnecessary expense. It's not very much per tin, and it's only a Coke-sized can of beer you're getting. But I'm trying to economise as best as possible. But I'm still wanting to go ashore and see the sights, and that costs money.
Yeah.
So I sort of robbing Peter, pay Paul, if you like, and this kind of gets me ostracised a little bit from the other ones. Have a beer. Why don't you have a beer? Out there, my left hand, I think, blows up like a balloon. And when I go to the dock on the sick bay, he's going, yeah, I've seen quite a few of these. He says, there's a bloody mozzie out there and it's got dirty teeth. And he says, here's something by antibiotics and clear it up. So it's we were out there, that would be, what birthday would that be? 87. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm getting quite old by then, anyway. So it's my birthday. I've got antibiotics. I'm told not to drink. And then they get one of the guys in the mess said, Matt, have a beer. I'll get you a beer. No, I can't have one. I'm on antibiotics. See the size of my hands. So look. And you could markedly see it was up like a balloon for 3 or 4 days and then it disappeared.
Yeah.
No after effects. We weren't strictly taking all the medication we were supposed to be out there, like anti-malaria tablets. Not everyone, the rumours started. And when the rumours start, you take a step back and you think, no, I'm not having them again. So a lot of guys, you get you issued, but, let me have dropped it. Oh, well, never mind. I'll have another one tomorrow, or whenever the period was.
Yeah.
And you're not taking the full anti-malaria tablets. I've never suffered.
Yeah.
I've been lucky that way, but there was all sorts of, it stunts your growth, it makes you impotent. It did give most of the ship's company bad guts. That was put down to. You stop taking them.
Yeah.
Miraculously, your guts settle, and you think, yeah, that's fine. That must be them. So you stop, and you just, well, I'm not taking them anymore. So you wing it and hope for the best.
Yeah. So just a question. So that whole thing that you're doing, leaving Portland, heading up Scotland, bringing yourself all the way across, doing those Navy's things, having an R&R, coming back. How long is that whole thing that you're away for?
It turns into 5 months.
5 months deployment, essentially. Yeah.
I actually I'm swear blind. I had actually handed over to the small ships flight, which my brother was actually embarked on.
Okay.
Now, we passed umpteen million miles apart because we'd never seen them.
Yeah.
And I did think beforehand, because I thought, I know he's coming out. He'd wrote to me and said, look, I'm starting on such and such ship's flight, I can't remember which, on a Lynx flight. He says, we're due to deploy, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, all right, we're going home. He's coming out. And it should have went, to the first lieutenant or somebody in big and mentioned this. Can we not just go quite close and give him a wave, or even cross deck for half an hour in the same area? But,
Didn't happen.
Went by the by and it
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
happen. But it's after the fact. Maybe I should have done that. Yeah, probably should have done that. But
Hindsight's great, isn't it?
you're heading back and you think, right, where's this? And the horizon is just nothing.
Yeah,
There's nobody out there. That used to happen on quite a few occasions when it was roughers.
Yeah.
Sometimes, and you're looking out and say, where the hell is everyone else? And you're looking on the horizon, and there's no one on the horizon. You're the only one at sea, bobbing around like a frigging cork. Every other sensible person has sought better waters, safer waters, calmer waters. Royal Navy, water for ducks back. We stay out in the nitty-gritty, unless it's really hooligan style. And then you might think, well, yeah, can we afford the damage? I don't want another, okay. And then they might seek some shelter. But 90% of the time, the only bugger out there
is yourselves. Yeah.
And there's no one on our horizon. I thought we were exercising with weather fucking shit. Yeah, we were, up until it went rough. All right. Okay, fair enough. We'll see them again. Oh, maybe a couple of weeks, or a couple of days' time. Once they've been, I think they may be going to a port. Oh, aye. Is that organised, or and you try to get the rumour mill going? Where are they? When was it organised? Was it very convenient because of the foul weather that was coming? Have we got another? No. Oh, right, okay. So we're stuck out here.
Off you go again.
It's when it goes like that, you can sometimes your sea legs, all right. It's when it corkscrews.
Yeah, make you feel ill.
Fucking horrible.
So back in Portland, doing the maths, this is kind of coming to the end of your time in the military. So, at what point are you thinking of that? What point do you think maybe the end's coming near?
Well, because I was a junior, I said at 18 I had to not take my option, so I signed on for 9.
Yeah.
Somewhere during that period, escapes me offhand. Wait one. I decide that I'm going to sign on again
After
for
9.
another 5
Okay.
on top.
Yeah.
So that was me up to 14 years serving time plus my previous time before 18. So that makes my 16 years.
Okay.
As it turned out to be.
Right.
But during that time, I had not 100% happy with life.
Okay.
Back on 702, before my second small ship flight on the Glasgow, I decided once my time was up, I thought, right, I'm too old for this shit.
Yeah.
I want to start a family. I think, to me, after 16 years, I'm kind of thinking that's me. On the horizon, if I stayed in and signed on for another 8 years, yes, there's pension at the end of it, big gratuity. Yeah, there's lots of financial lures to keep you in.
Yeah.
After doing 14, what's another 8?
Yeah.
It's thingy. But I didn't fancy doing the deployments down to the Falklands for umpteen months, out to the Gulf for umpteen months. It didn't appeal to me. I thought sunny weather, fair enough. Cold weather, rough seas, no, don't fancy it. Because that, sod's law, that's the times I would deploy. Do I want to go on another small ship's flight? Do I want to go on anything bigger? A carrier, something like that? Not particularly. And deploy for umpteen months. So I was kind of reticent of doing that. So I decided when I went on 702 and I went to see the wife that one night and I said, I had a shit day. I says, how do you feel about me not signing on again? She goes, yeah, well, whatever you want to do. And I says, well, take a few days. So we toyed it over and I decided then right, that's me. That's the end of my time. That's me. I'm going to be a civvy.
Yeah.
I'm going to see what's out there.
Yeah.
So I was pre-positioned before I went on to the small ships. Small ships light, the second time, the Glasgow. I come off of that, and a requisite of signing on for the second 5-year period, the additional 5 years, I had to do my promotional exam.
Okay.
And that was back in, let me see now, I've got it here somewhere. Well, I remind myself, I took that in, where are we? Lost it. Here we are. 1984.
Okay.
So I passed the exam, and then I've got to wait 2 years at the very minimum, because the way the trade or the fleet aram trade system works, you've got to sit for 2 years, and then you start gaining what they call points, and that's by your divisional officer, your next point of call if you've got a problem with home, with work, with your mental health, whatever. You go to your nearest officer, and I dare say in the army and other services, that's what you do initially. That's how you raise that issue. So I went to him to say I wanted to sign on. He says, "Well, you got to do your qualifying course." So my next divisional officer, after that 2 year period, he starts doing me. He's a snappy dresser, all round good egg, and he is worth so many points per write up. And I think that's done at 6 months over the year, every 6 months. So you get these points, and once you amalgamate all the points you can, which is another 3 years on top, eventually you say promoted.
Okay.
Tick.
Yeah.
You've reached the required number of points. You're still all-round good egg, snappy dresser. You are good at your trade. You're good at what you do. You've had 2 small ships flights, etc., etc. So you have to do a 9 months qualifying course. So a 9 months test to test you on all what you've done before, all what you might do in the future.
Wow. Okay.
So that's back at
That place.
Yeah, dead loss. So I move lock, stock and barrel.
Because it's such a long course. Yeah.
So it's 9 months course. Some
Wow.
guys commute
Okay.
back and forth, and the wife stays where they are based originally, because you take guys from everywhere
Yeah.
on bases. So down at Culdrose in Cornwall, Yeovilton again, Portland.
Yeah.
You all amalgamate. Somebody comes out the trees, never been near a ship, like as I said, 14 years, never served on board. He comes out of a workshop environment, never seen an aircraft live since he's started training. And he's like, how the flying fuck do you do that?
So you take the whole family.
So you take all. I moved my wife out of Mudmarry Quarter to Gosport in Hampshire. I drive to work to and from. Well, actually, I ride a bike.
Okay. Yeah.
I had a push bike when I was at Portland, and I used to cycle up the hill. That was another stupid move. But the wife was needing a car. I lost the coin toss, and I bought a push bike.
Okay. Yeah,
10-geared push bike, and I used to cycle up from the air station up to the Marry Quarters up the top of Portland Bill. And the hell's like,
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So that's sidetracked. So I still have the bike. I cycle to and from round that every day, couple of miles, and there's a little shortcut. Strange thing, it's pissing the rain, and you'll see you're in full weather gear, and I think, how the fuck am I going to keep my boots dry, my shoes dry, my trainers dry? 2 plastic bags, one on each, tied on. Tesco bag comes in handy, and you see guys riding in. Don't give a hoot who sees you. You're keeping dry. That's all your priority number 1 is. So many a time I would always, dear, well, I've forgotten my frigging socks again. So she would turn up in the car. Well, she was working in Portsmouth at the time, and she drove to Portsmouth every day in the commute. We had a shitty car there, and it regularly break down on a on her, and I was glad she had it. I didn't. Eventually, we got it sorted permanently, but she broke down 2 or 3 times, and it was, forever my fault. But I was cycling to and from work, class. It's all rigmarole. You've got a sort of satchel to carry all your books in, and you go to the various classes, and then every week or so, 7 days, 8 days maybe, you have an exam on what you've learned the previous week. And then after the 3-month period, you have a major exam on what you've done. Next 3 months, major exam, plus all the intervening tests, major exam right at the end. And you end up with, because of the trade, 3 papers.
Mm-hmm.
So you got admin, you got weapons, electrical, and you got electrical, but they throw a few weapons. I'm sure they threw a few weapons questions in there as well, because some of the systems are related. So I'll get through that. Part of the course, if you do very well, you could get field selected to be what they called at the time an artificer apprentice.
Okay.
Which is basically a technician, a well-trained guy. Back in the day, an artificer apprentice did 4 years at Daedalus training, and then fast-tracked, leading hand, petty officer, chief, etc.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So I decide right at the start, right, tell who you are, what you want to do, what you want to be in the future. And I says, I just want to get through the bloody course. I'm out of my depth here. Kind of thing. I didn't say that, but I was facing the mass testing to get your sitting guilds at the end of the course, trig, algebra, transposition of formula, to name but 3. I'm going, what the fuck? And I could not get algebra to save myself. So I'm struggling. I'm thought, you don't pass the maths, you're off the course. And one guy sadly did, and he went. You never saw him again. You're thrown off the course.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
If you have been promoted on the course, or have promotion before the course, because it can happen, they take that back, throw you off the course.
Yeah.
So you're down in pay, and you're back as a normal rating.
Yeah.
So you lost the money that you had, and sort of kind of the prestige that, or you go on course you expect to finish. So I'm shitting bricks. Luckily, one of the guys who had been field selected beforehand was a former neighbour on Portland. So we tripped to his house, and I'd asked various other guys on the course, teach me algebra, please. I'm fucking struggling. So none of it would stick. And it's not sticking. I'm really panicking. And then eventually I go to Cameron Taylor, Buck Taylor, as the common nickname is, Buck Taylor. So I go to his house, Cammy, what? Help me out here. And the penny finally dropped. Dink. Ching. Fucking great. Transposition of formula went for a little while, but I managed to get that myself.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got 3 exams to get your sitting guild. If you don't pass the math, that's you. So in the meantime, Missy says, what? Fuck, I'm pregnant. Yeah, oh, yes, great, fantastic. That's really cool. Pressure. Wife's expecting pay rise at the end of course. I'm expecting promotion at the end of course. Bugging me, next thing I know, Mac, you're on the promotion, you're now a leading hand. Or once the commander goes, you go, salute, etc. I've done it with the wrong hand, but don't want to knock the mic. Yeah. So you salute, yeah, okay, what's it like, sir? And your divisional officer says, yeah, he's fine, he's been quite consistent through the course. He's not failed any exams, he'll make a damn good leading hand. Oh, the shit of the day. And you're thinking, are they talking about me? So you smile, yes sir, thank you very much. So wheel out. Okay. You then go to stores, you get your leading hand, your hooks, you sew them on all the appropriate garb that you wear, uniforms, overalls, working shirts, the lot. Pressure number 3. Finish the course, finish the maths, wife's pregnant. So I have to do well. Fair enough. I do somewhere about 70% on each 3 papers. Sail, the pass mark, not overly high, so I did good enough. I'm quite happy. I'll get my hook. I keep my hook. I keep the pay rise, and we got money to burn for the wife delivering. So, and we reckon they'd also had a lunchtime pint to celebrate my leading hands promotion, and that's what triggered finally the pregnancy.
Good.
So we returned to Portland after that. I get my city in guilds eventually. If you've ever had a brother in the services, what happens? Where does your city in guilds get sent to?
Wrong place.
Correct.
Yeah.
Is he an electrician? No, he's a mechanic. Is he the same rate as me? Yes, I'll give him that. Has he got the same initials? No. Is his official number, service number, as we call official number, the same as mine? It's got a few numbers in it, same, but no, it's not the same. How the fucking hell did it end up there? So I'm wondering about. I phone up dead lost and say, where's my fucking certificate? The one qualification I've ever got, nothing from school whatsoever, thick as 2 short planks. I've got a bit of paper to say I am now a City and Guilds holder. And I go to my brothers and I'm moaning about this. I said, I've got that somewhere. What? I've got that somewhere. He says, I'll go figure it out. And he'd held on to it. Hadn't told me the bugger. Hadn't told me that he had it. And there's my crumpled, that had come through the post, certificate. And suddenly, it's got my name in it. Oh, yeah. Oh. Flash it around. Finally, flash it around. So he had that. I eventually got it. I was chuffed bits. I've got something to show at the end of it. Excuse me. And we returned to Portland. I go on another maintenance group. I'm on a maintenance unit called Aircraft Maintenance Group, AMG. And that's basically, you take an aircraft out of service, you strip it down, like we did back in the support unit days with the W65, and you do all the corrosion work, all the fixing work. At some stage, the cab becomes a Christmas tree. Shortage of parts, somebody will come up with a check saying, I need that part. Oh, fuck's sake. That's another part we've got to order. So you order that part, and a flight gets a part that's sitting on your cab doing nothing. So rather than buy new, which is expensive, we recycle. And by the time your cab gets fixed, they'll have new parts that are brought through stores that suddenly arrive. Sometimes they sit in a foreign port waiting to be ferried back to the UK. And the stores officer is thinking, I've got to fill this cabinet, this container full of stuff. And there, behold, is all the stuff we need. And it's shortage of supply. So MOD has to go out, shell out more money for new ones. Whereas on the side of a dockyard, there's a cabinet full of the stuff. So that sometimes gives you supply issues. So eventually you get it all back together again. It goes back to the squadron, or it goes back to a new flight. They bring back their old dirty cab. You take that over. They get the bright shiny new one or the repaired one, and they take that away, and that becomes their flight cab. So all you do is interchange doors, change maybe a few names on the front, put the ship's ident on the back, like in Sirius it was SS, Glasgow, GW on the tail end, and that signifies that's that flight's cab. And you've also got a side number on the door, which signifies your aircraft. So when you're looking up an Oral Grey, you can find the right one. Yes, there's Glasgow on the front, but not always. Not always. Your stripes it's on. All right, 3-4. That's a tail number. Yeah, that's ours. We're working it, etc. Because you're damned if you do anybody else's work for them.
Yeah.
So you've got that. I could do that, and in the meantime, there's some health issues at home, and both my wife and my daughter are suffering health issues. So I'm saying, no, let me go home. So eventually, they do to a certain extent, and then they say, well, hang on a minute. you've had a lot of time off, Mac. He says, you know, you need to think. It's not that much. It's not that bad. Well, it's not your life, I'm arguing. So they says, right, we'll see what we can do. But meanwhile, he says, you haven't done sod all for going outside. So, education office now. So I'm double away smartly to the education office at Portland, up on Osprey, on the bus, to find out what I can learn and what I can do when I become a civvy. What courses can I do? Your vocational training at the end. You know, I did HGV, for instance, so I become a professional driver. So that's all paid for, parcel and paid for, accommodation booked, all part, and it's all paid for by the MOD as part of your resettlement. I organised that eventually. Meanwhile, my divisional officer works wonders, and for my last 6 months, I end up back in Edinburgh Careers Office.
Oh, do you? Okay. So then you get to move back up where you want to actually be.
So, end of 1990, I've already bought a house where we now live.
Okay.
In Gallagher Shields.
Yeah.
Coming up and down the road, I was always passing down the A7, passing through Gallagher. I thought, oh, it's not too bad place. I wonder if we live here. So when I come outside, this is coming up on holiday before I come outside, and we started to look for houses around the area of the borders, Scottish borders, and we plumped for Gallagher. And we got the house, we bought it, we moved in. So I moved my wife up. She's up there, I'm down here. I'm commuting backwards and forwards about their health, trying to get them better. We're in and out of the local hospital like a yo-yo. And then they say, right, careers office, whoosh. So I'm happy as Larry. Is an interior job in an office for me? No. I find that out pretty quickly.
Okay.
So yeah, I get bored, I must admit. And apologies to anyone in the careers office at the time. Yeah, I wasn't the best. I got very bored. It wasn't working on aircraft. It wasn't working outside. Despite, during the winter, 6 months of rain, piss wet, dealing with aircraft out in an airfield, there's no hiding place, virtually. So you're going to get soaked. And you're going to get, even through the foul weather gear, if you don't, you sweat from the inside out.
Yeah.
So, so I'm more like working outside. I'm not very keen on the office work, but you're getting new entries in. Not are all dedicated to joining. Some are just to try and keep their employment money. Have you fancied the Royal Navy or the Air Force or whatever, or the Army? Oh yeah, go and fail the exam. That's you for 6 months. Back again, do something else, try, and they just deliberately fail the exam.
Okay.
So they're out. Or, you know, somehow they maybe foible the medical and, you know, they get the money. So you can see they're not really interested when they come in through the door.
Yeah.
They're not bubbly. They're not sort of, you know, I really want, what you know, sometimes you might get a question, what do you do? You know, oh, right.
Yeah.
Really? Somebody's interested. Wow. You get trainee Royal Marines coming in, and I think your previous guy was working in a careers office. He had the pull-up bar.
Yes.
And we had one up the stairs, so potential bootneck here. Take him up to the pull-up bar, Mac. See how many he does. He struggled with one.
Oh, really?
Now, I would have barely reached even jumping pull-up bar. And I can't criticise anyone, so I'm not having a go at the guy. And I says, well, you need to work on your upper body fitness. And at that time, they were having 3 days pre-look, take them on a course, 3 days, see the fitness, see if they had it, what it takes, see if they got pissed off in the first hour and said, nah, it's not for me. And then, you know, if they were past the course, then yes, the process would go on. Because 9 months of bootneck course is obviously quite long, quite costly. And then at the end of it, you know, you want somebody to pass out at the end. But yes, not all do. Some get injuries and can't complete the course. Others sail it. We had a fell runner. There was rumoured there was a fell runner on one of the bootneck courses. and he was doing the course, running back for the assault course or the march, and helping guys who were struggling. Guy was fit as fuck. We had one guy come through, and he was a mechanic, a Land Rover mechanic. You're interested? Oh, yeah, okay. Land Rovers in the forces, Land Rovers in the bootnicks. Yeah, we want you. He was also a rugby player. So they fast-tracked him because the Army-Navy match was coming up.
Yeah, true.
And he had an injury.
Oh, okay.
And he couldn't play.
Fair.
And he was chuffed to hell, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, well, never mind. And maybe they rushed him. He wasn't quite ready to jump the gun so quick. From what they said afterwards, I didn't hear him verbally, so I'm going on hearsay. But he was quite happy. Yeah, I'll pass the course. That's no problem. And there was kind of some questions over his initial fitness. They expected him to be just a bit more physical and able, but he wasn't quite there. And then he had an injured hand, I think, hand. So he didn't play the game, but they fast-tracked him through because they got wind he was a rugby player.
Yeah, fair enough.
So sticking the DAC in our favour, yeah, all for that.
Yeah.
So occasionally you'd have the guys in. Some people would come in for the brochures. You get phone calls for brochures. One girl wanted to be a bootneck. I said, sorry. I went to the officer in charge and I said, look, you know, she's wrote in. She wants to be a bootneck, but she can't, can she? And he says, nah. He says, there's no opportunities. There's somewhere in the pipeline, there's some rumours that they can, and I do think some of them can be selected to go on the course. And I think there's a couple of officers that have done it in recent times. But at the time, nah.
Okay.
So I had to handwritten letter, you know, snail mail, send it back with the brochures and say, try be a wren. So I thought, she's going to go to the army. And then maybe at a later date, try and do the commando course. Because she sounded, and when I think she phoned, she sounded very keen. It was either I could read in her letter or a phone call, but I could almost read between the lines or in her voice that, which I'm not too sure which is which, but I could sort of think, well, she sounds very keen to be a bootneck.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I'm going to just be a Wren writer or be a Wren driver or be a Wren air mechanic or an electrician or whatever. And at the time, you can't go to sea either.
Yeah.
Was that about the time? I think it was a little bit after they decided Wrens could go to sea.
Yeah. So your last 6 months is up there.
Up there,
You've moved everything up there.
Yeah.
And what is your transition out? Obviously, you had to become a civilian again. I'm guessing it's helping being part of civilian life in some way because you're in the careers office. You're connecting with them all the time. So what's that kind of like final bit for you leaving?
I do the vocational training. I go to Glasgow. It's a bit of a iffy area, so you have to lock your car in the compound where the takes place, and then go to the nearby rented flat building. Amazingly, there was also a Rolls Royce which parked at the roadside, never touched.
Okay, yeah.
Say no more, but we used to have really stupid things leaning out of the umpteenth floor of the flat, shouting at people down on the ground, doing stupid things, you know, as you do. Some on the course, most were civvies going for their HGV. There was an ex-army guy who was doing his plant, so big diggers, JCBs, that sort of thing, and me just doing the driving. So I do that, I take the test, pass it, right, I'm an HGV driver, what next? Get a job. That's just harder than it turned out. So come the end of my time at the careers office, I'm about to go on holiday. I say, I've actually got one more day. Technically, I have to come after my holiday. And I say, well, we don't want to see you, Max. It's fine, you know. Fuck off, you know. Go on holiday and disappear. So I go on holiday. I'm getting reacquainted with my daughter. Health issues have settled down. we're kind of happy, but no job on the horizon. Time's up. I go to HMS Cochrane, which is the naval base at Rosyth. But every base has an HMS on the front of it, so Cochrane. We're going to Cochrane. I see a very unhelpful regulator, admin guy, and I say, can't I go outside here? She says, that. She says, we have no control of where you are discharged. Right. So I have to go all the way to Portsmouth.
Bloody hell. Okay.
Because still sitting in my docks is last known nearest discharge base to Portland is Portsmouth. So I go back home and I says, "You're civvy yet?" And I said, "Yeah." "Do you fancy a couple of nights in Portsmouth?" What now?" I says, "Yeah, back a bag. Where I'm taking the car to be discharged at Nelson, Portsmouth." Right. Hurriedly get all the gear together, fill the car, whoosh, down the road. It's dark by the time we arrive. We get into the home and Union Jack Club just opposite Nelson. So I phoned up somehow I had the number, or do directory inquiries or the phone book. You had physical phone books back in the day. Found the number strangely. Get on my phone. "Can I have a room for a night or two, please?" Aye. "Yeah, no problem. Baby, yeah, bring her along, that's fine, yeah." "How old's she?" "Oh, what's her name?" You know, you get all the details, inside leg measurements. "Oh, yeah, I'll see you tomorrow, yeah, okay, bye." Or, that night, sail all the way down in the car. Car is not 100% well, but we make it. I've taken all my gear. Kit bag full of shit. Uniforms, caps, berry, whatnot, and I've nowhere to store it. I'm struggling for space in our house for where to put it other than in the loft. And I thought, I don't really fancy that, lugging or pushing a big heavy kit bag to keep gear that I don't want. So I'm taking it and I'm having it back. So I get to stores and I've got all this gear flipping trailing me. And next thing you know, ID card, aye. Gas mask, aye. Right, bye. That's you.
They don't want anything else,
No.
just those two bits.
No. So I go, right, what the fuck am I going to do with all this? Is it back in the car? No, don't fancy that. There's a skip over there. And strangely, I'd driven onto the camp to get the gear. So I moved the car to where the skip was. Empty the kit bag in, case, empty the kit bag. Everything goes in that I can get rid of. I keep my working boots, I keep my working overalls. I thought they'll be handy working on the car. A couple of other bits and pieces, everything else. That's it. End of story.
So quite a clean cut.
Fresh break, clean cut.
Yeah.
Don't want to do it anymore. Don't want all that hanging over. It'll have to go in the loft. Don't really want that.
Yeah.
I decide to cut ties, clean break. Yeah, at times you go, wish I had my berry. So I could go on Remembrance Day parades with it on proudly. My badge and berry on and all the rest of it. And you see other guys all ready for Remembrance Day parades, but, it's too late by then. It's done and dusted, and that's it. So I go out, and I says, I'm a civvy. What are we going to do? So we wandered to Portsmouth, we park up, and we spend a day or two down there. We have a little mini holiday. We travel back up north, and I think, what am I going to do now? So it's letters, applying for jobs, brand new licence. Can you get a job at, say, an agency? Not for love nor money. 2 years minimum experience. Way round that, work for nothing. And then you can get with the guys or whoever's driving, girls, whoever's driving, and then you maybe swap over every now and again. And you're not getting paid, but you're gaining the experience.
Mm.
And as mine is a class 1, I was in an Artex. I have zilch experience at all. So a speculative letter to where we lived, and damn me, they're looking for someone to take over a HCB job, to cover holidays So I had high days and holidays, etc. I'm part-time. I'm on a 16-hour contract. Money's not perfect, but it's money in the bank. £4 odds an hour at the time. And I'd gone down from £38 a day as a leading hand. But in the grand scheme of things, per day, that's not a great hourly rate as a leading hand. But, you know, you take it and you just, well, it's more money than what I had before, I'll take it. You're not having it back, I'm quite happy. You know, if you're not happy, we'll take it back. No, just leave it in the bank. It's fine. You know, we were paid monthly anyway, bank, so you're no cash in hand anymore. But you're down on £4 odds an hour in the 1990s. When you go on holiday, all you get is your 16 hours money. I gradually build up to a 20-hour contract, and then one of the drivers takes a supervisor's job. And there's many a guy before me in line thinking, I'll get a full-time job now. And a lot of noses went out of joint when they said, Ian's getting it.
Nice.
Because I have the licence and they don't have to pay anything. Don't have to train them up. They don't have to do anything. Ian's got the job. Fuck. So I'm, you know, name's mud for a good few weeks, months. Nothing to do with me. I didn't even have to apply for the job. I was just given it.
Nice.
I was just offered it.
Cool.
Do you want a full-time job, Ian? Driving a 16-tonner.
Yes,
right.
Please.
Yeah, it's not great. It's early shift, day shift, back shift. Did it go that way? And then...
But either way...
3 weeks about.
You managed to get a job.
Yeah, I managed to get a full-time job. Yeah. It's an increase in pay. I'm on the early shift.
Good.
Quite a bit of overtime. That gets dwindled away over the years. I stay there. I'm in Securicor as it was then. They then get taken over by a parcel company because Securicor did parcels and cash in transit at the time. And cash in transit is delivering the money to the banks, to various customers, supermarkets, coins, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that's my initial job. I get transferred to the parcels. I drive the 16-tonner truck. I do parcels, deliver parcels. And my driving truck is a 16-tonner. I'm delivering parcels in it. Not just pallets, you might think, no.
Yeah, little ones.
Individual boxes to houses.
But you're essentially a truck driver.
Yeah.
So you leave as a truck driver.
Yeah.
That's cool. And do you do that for multiple years? We don't need the detail, just to give the guys an idea about what it's like when you leave the military. Like, are you changing jobs a lot, or are you doing that for a long time?
Up until then, 15 years. And then I thought, kind of like, this is a young man's sport again.
Okay.
I kind of think I'm getting too old for this shit. And I applied to go to drive a bus and get a bus. And they would train me up doing my bus.
Okay.
So I went to a local bus company, applied for the job. I had to go up to Edinburgh or Livingston for somewhere to get an interview. I made all the right noises. They stupidly employed me. You get out onto the road eventually after you do your training, and it wasn't for me.
Okay.
I lasted 4 years at it.
Yeah.
Nah, I don't have the patience. My brother has the patience, and he drives a bus.
Yeah.
I don't have the patience.
But you experienced that driving was the kind of key there.
It opens doors, having a truck license. Because I had a manual truck license, I only had to drive automatic bus, coach, if you like, accurate coach, and then you get a manual bus license.
Yeah.
So that was advantageous to them.
Nice.
So again, you got the granddad rights, as they call it.
Yeah.
So I get that. I get to the end of 4 years, and then I start taking agency jobs to fill in gaps in my employment career. Don't knock it until you try it. My license opens a heck of a lot of doors. Not always good doors, because you learn that some are not great payers, and they blame the company you work for as they blame them. The company you work for blames your agency, and you're the piggy in the middle.
Yeah.
So you're not going to work for them anymore, and
Fair
you
enough.
change agency, and then you slap your CV into another agency, and they say, all right, and they're maybe not recruiting, but they'll take you on their books. So as I had a manual bus license, next thing I know, I get an agency job. Ian, what do you fancy Lady Boys of Bangkok tour? Go on then, what's that about? The Lady Boys, the men that have converted to women. Oh, aye. Not all of them have. He says, but the Thai, yeah, okay. How's that? Where's that then? All right, Aberdeen. Right. What time does that start? Early, he says, because I've got to drive you up there. All right. So where am I going to meet you? Oh, well, okay. So we arranged to meet, and I go to Aberdeen. And they've never met me. I've never met them. And they're all a bit wary because it's an agency-filled job. And the Lady Boys of Bangkok tour basically is a stage tour where they mime to songs like Tina Turner and various other actors, and they take the part, they dress up. Some of them are fully converted from male to female. Some are part transvestites, etc. So they are a laugh eventually. You get to know them, they get to know you, and I had to take a lot of stick from the two comedians. Jojo was one of them, and I forget the other guy's name, but these two guys took the piss out of me and something rotten. And I just had to smile and lap it up. And they respected me for that. Because a lot of guys, they said, well, don't take any offence. He says, when they take the piss. He says, because they will. They'll try and see. Job. I mean, Jojo comes up to me. He's got shaved eyebrows and says, Ian, what? And he says, do you think I'm beautiful? Yes, Jojo, you're beautiful. It's all right. Fine. So you humour them.
Yeah.
And I just water off a duck's back.
Yeah.
And then they like you to muck in when they're descaling and putting the stuff in the back of the motor. And all I'm driving is the coach with them in it.
Yeah, fair
and
enough.
all their gear. There's somebody else driving the Arctic, and he drives overnight to the next venue, and then you meet up the next day. They were very favourite for McDonald's in the morning for breakfast, and then a Thai restaurant, Chinese restaurant for the night time.
Yeah.
So after that night's show, all pile in the bus. Obviously, you couldn't drink and drive, so pint of Coke. Meals were paid for. They took us to a Thai restaurant. I had one bit of Thai food, and I thought, yeah, that's all right, that's lamb, that's good. And then, woof, spice. Red, hot spice. I'm sloshing down the Coke, iced Coke, sloshing it down, not touching it. Melon. Come along, dunk. Oh, I've got to try something. Whoosh, killed it. Right. I'm not one for spicy food.
No.
I'm not one for curries. I'm not one for spicy food. So I managed to get through the first week, and then they got stuck because the driver walked off the job.
Okay.
And I got a phone call. Ian, what? I'm really, really, really stuck. He says, can you make it to Kirkcaldy in Fife? Well, I don't know. Hang on a minute. So I went and seen the wife. I says, they want me in Fife now, today. That was a Saturday or Sunday, weekend anyway. Yeah. So I go to her, she's outside. Right, so she stops everything. And I drive, and she's got to take the car back. So I drive to a car park near Kirkcaldy. I get on the coach, insert my digicard, get all the bus sorted. Mrs. drives back. I spend the next week going round Fife, Stirling, various places, taking the show. And we eventually end up in Newcastle.
Okay.
I say, cheerio, thank you very much, Ian. Well, come back at next time. We really like you, blah, blah, blah. That was the last time I went.
Okay.
I moved on after that, probably to another agency, another job, because the work dried up.
So just more driving jobs, yeah.
You just look for another agency. I drove for another parcel company. I went back to parcels.
Yeah. So you basically for your transition out, you did a lot of driving,
driving jobs, basically.
driving jobs
I
up until
went back to
retirement.
parcels. I lasted 6 months, and I thought, I can't do this shit anymore. The commute was doing me my head in. It was up to the other side, the western end of Edinburgh.
Yeah.
It's a hell of a commute.
Yeah.
The money wasn't all that great, so I said, no.
Yeah, fair enough.
So I resigned after it was my probationary period anyway. So
Okay.
at the end of the 6 months, I could either walk away or ask, "Are you going to take me on? Have I done all right?" So I preempted it and said, "No,
Fair enough,
I don't
fair
want." So I walked.
And now, just like, are you past you've retired now? Is that where you're at now?
Well,
or?
I moved to various other jobs again, driving. I went into the tourist industry for 4 years. COVID hit. And my Edinburgh City tour run with an open-topped minibus, because you could button and the roof would open.
Mm.
And they thought this was, a good idea. Never really paid, to be honest. Try as I might, and on the strength of the amount of people, punters, and I was breaking rules left, right and centre to get punters on. That's people, bums on seats. Punters is a Scottish word, I do apologise.
No, it's fine.
But people on the seats to pay and the tour. And you had a location start, but you weren't allowed to sit there between tours.
Okay, fine.
You had a set tour to do and a set time. Come back, you had 10, 15 minutes in case you were running against traffic, and then you started again. I used to sit at the place where we come back to and just hand out leaflets.
Fair.
And occasionally you get a few guys walking by. How much is the tour? And where's it go? Yeah, on we go. Here's my money, cash.
Yeah.
So I'm going back to the office quite regular. Yeah, and bloody hell, this is the first week. One of the guys, or the three of us, one of the guys had already packed in. Seen the long shifts and thought, no for me.
Yeah,
And he walked in the first week. There was me and a big old Italian guy. And we stuck it out, but he again was having problems sticking it out. And there was a lot of back and forth, and then they decided to employ more drivers, shorten the shifts, make them more friendly, retain people, etc. So we got that, but I got a full-time contract confirmed, even though my job was a full-time contract, but you still got to work that probationary period to see if you're cut out for history, and not so much the details, but whether you can interact with Joe Public and tell them a good story, make them laugh, or give them being informative, and they come back with their review and you get a positive review. It's odd. Yeah, you upset people. Life is short. You will upset people, no matter what. But on the whole, everything's positive. So I do that for 4 years. COVID hits. They decide that the run is no longer viable, and I'm due to go on holiday just as COVID hits, and they're all putting everyone on furlough. So I text or emailed my boss, my next supervisor, and saying, I think that's me. I really think that's me. That's me done.
Fair. Yeah.
And dusted. I'm not going to see this place again. Oh, you never know, Matt. You never know, Ian. You never know. We'll see how it comes. So next thing I know, there's a phone call. Ian, we're going to let you go.
Yeah.
So I'm already kind of thinking, I'm retired. I'm not going to get another job. I'm lucky.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of become the house husband and do my best to try and earn some part-time money or anything that I can do while the wife works flipping bloody hard to support us.
Fair enough.
So I'm eternally grateful. And she'd done many a time in the past when I was between jobs at times.
Yeah.
And she was working 2 jobs.
Yeah.
She was keeping us afloat. Even my daughter, bless her heart, chipped in one time because she had money from birthdays and Christmas, and she come down the stairs one time and in tears says, look, I want you to have this.
Yeah.
And you go, oh, that's hard. And my missus said, no. I just let her help. She's and she ran up the stairs in tears. And the missus went up and sorted her and said, look, we'll take money, thank you very much.
Yeah.
We'll pay you back.
Yeah.
And we did. So we're entirely grateful how she helped us out there. My wife worked very hard when I was, maybe not working or not. Yes, I could claim unemployment benefit when I wasn't actually, but I was signing off and signing back on again as the job. So I'd maybe have a week work, 2 weeks work, 3 weeks work, whatever it was, or maybe a couple of days. And
Yeah.
I'd have to sign off the dotted line. Sometimes it didn't matter, depending on the payment period. And it didn't count over and above what your sort of maximum amount you could earn. So, but I was jumping between various jobs. So I got made redundant. They paid me off at the end of the year, towards the end of the year, October, to give me the maximum amount of redundancy payments that they could manage. I go home. I go home. I went up there once more. My car was, just before I was made redundant, my car developed a fault. So
Okay. We don't need that. We don't need that.
so
We're good. We're good.
I went up there, I come back, I'd seen them once, and I only seen the guys
Yeah.
behind the counter, and I stayed around, and they fixed it within 15 minutes. Found the problem, fixed it. I went back down. I didn't even say hi to any of the office staff.
Yeah.
I just thought, no, they're too busy anyway. So I scampered back down the road. They paid me off. I've actually sort of semi-retired.
Yeah.
Since then, I've had a sort of little job at the council doing the bin lorries, but that dried up, and I just said, nah, forget it.
Yeah.
I had my kit back in, and I look forward to
Retirement
getting my
fully.
works pensions kicking in a month's time.
Nice. Brilliant. Well, that does bring us up to date by the sounds of it, which is really, really good. And we've got an opportunity here to get some advice from yourself. So we do have advice here for people that are thinking of joining the military. So do you have any advice for those people that are thinking of joining the military?
Like all jobs, go in with your eyes wide open. Thought about this, I don't know how many times. What would I say if I ever came on the show, your podcast? And I thought, go in with your eyes wide open. There will be, what the fuck am I doing here moments. You're out in the middle of the nowhere at sea, if you're in the Navy, or you're in a trench, if you're in the army. Perhaps it's cold, it's wet, it's piss wet raining, and you're pissed off, cold, and you're going to think, what the fuck am I doing here? Why am I doing this? Somebody will come along, what the fuck's up? And you tell them, and you go, they'll make a joke of it, or they'll take the piss. And you're lighting the load, you'll have some back and forth, lots of swear words that you can't use, and then you forget what was bad, and the next day you just crack on.
Yeah.
So eyes wide open. We got told many a time in the Navy, life in a blue suit. So any shit job comes up, it's life in a blue suit.
Yeah.
Pressman is better than a volunteer. Lots of phrases used to come out when you're standing there thinking, why me?
Yeah.
What have I done to upset you? Nothing.
No.
You just happened to be passing the door at the time, and you're the ideal man to do it.
Yeah.
But I've got such and such. No, you're the ideal man. So, bit of different work, misemployment. Go do a disaster exercise on Portland. See.
Yeah.
So you're chasing the ship's company that are working on the disaster exercise, and they're working toward deploying like on a West Indies guard ship. We had to do that. So you have an exercise on Portland, and you do. So you get farmed off, and there's fires, there's lighting fires, fuel fires, and you're a casualty.
Mm-hmm.
And the medic guy comes up and says, what's wrong with you? Oh, I think my leg hurts. Yeah, it's broken. So they quite happily get a marker pen. If it's permanent marker, all the better. Broken leg.
Yeah.
On your forehead.
So eyes wide open is the good advice.
Eyes
Brilliant
wide
stuff.
open.
Fantastic. So next bit of advice would be for the veterans out there. So veterans that are just about to leave the military, if you've got some advice there, or people that might have been out for a little while, advice for veterans.
Do better than I did. Yes, I had distractions with health issues, but you need to plan, I think, ahead of what you're going to do once you finish. If you're coming out with a good pension at the end of 22, 24, whatever many years, then you might have some time to sit idle and just live off your gratuity, your settlement, whatever money. But you need to think, well, do I want to work? What do I want to work? And where I want to work? In the time you've got before. Don't leave it too late. Even once you're sort of qualified and doing what you do, if you've got spare time, do some qualifications.
Yeah, sounds good.
You know, do a correspondence course.
Yeah.
Try and get the day release to college. See what you can do. See how you can work the system to help you to transit better into civilian life.
Cool. So extra quals is a good shout. It's a good shout.
Anything like extra experience, anything that kids are coming out of school are looking to do. They're sometimes looking to go to college or uni, or sometimes they just want to work.
Yeah.
If you want to get out there and do that job,
you
might be saying, I want to sit in an office and drink
up.
coffee and all sorts.
Yeah, great.
You got to decide what you want to do.
Yeah, fantastic.
So it's just, work at it long before your time is up.
Time is up, yeah.
And then, you've got a good start. And sometimes, you'll make contacts out of the services, and that military experience will get you a good shout for a job, but maybe not always. No. So you might have to work a bit harder at it.
Great stuff. So, extra education.
Yeah, anything you can do to make your CV stand out, or your application letter or your application. If you've got, I've got the military experience, but I've also done this.
Yeah, fantastic. Brilliant. Well, thank you for all of that and all that advice. How was it for you coming on the show?
It's been great. I've enjoyed the time here.
Great stuff.
It's been fantastic.
Yeah.
You're a good host, and what more can you ask for?
Well, thank you. Thanks so much for sharing everything that you did do whilst you were in the military, and what you've gone through, of course. And also for your time. Obviously, we've managed to tie it in with coming down to this part of the country, but thank you for giving up some of your time for the show.
It's no worries. I had the time, I offered, and you accepted.
Yeah,
so.
Brilliant stuff.
Yeah.
And lastly, I say this to all my guests. Thank you for your service.
Yeah, and yours too.
Yeah.
Cap, yours too.
No worries.
Everyone out there.
Yeah. All the veterans.
All veterans, and even people that are going in, your service is well rewarded.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Ian. It's been great. Cheers.
Yeah. Thank you.
This has been Military Veterans Podcast. Out.